And one of the things that I think affects us more than what many of us realize is the media that we consume. And we consume the equivalent of something like 15 and a half hours of media a day on average in this country. And it's an incredible amount of information, images, words, advertisements that we're constantly being bombarded with. And even when we have a really strong compass for what we want and where we're going, it can be this subtle play in the background of messages of who am I supposed to be, what are the expectations on me. And so I think that when you really start being critical of it, and part of how we came to start the magazine was realizing that a lot of the messages that we're receiving don't actually jive with what we want in our hearts, or they're creating a lot of tension. And so, what is it about media today that is really causing that tension? The subtle messaging that we're getting, and Ashley was pointing to this earlier, is just the advertising that we're constantly being bombarded with. In 1971, people saw an average of 500 ads a day. And today we see almost 5,000 ads a day between television and looking online. And in all of these cases, what's amazing is that I've seen each one of these images in women's magazines. This is not a men's magazine problem. This is women advertising to other women by objectifying us. And it's one of these things where when you're constantly digesting this and you're constantly told that this is the way that I'm supposed to look, and these are even in the Victoria's Secret ad, it's a bunch of women who are sort of interchangeable. They're just there for their bodies. You don't see who the person is at all. It keeps telling us in the messaging that, we are only valuable for this. And maybe we're valuable for other things too, but ultimately our objectification, like our bodies and the way that we look, is what's really important. And that's what we're internalizing. And there's been a lot of really interesting research done and a lot of surveys. And I think that the numbers are pretty compelling, that 69% of women say magazine pictures influence their ideal body shape. 65% of women, when they've reported their eating habits, they've been determined to have disordered eating patterns. And the last one I think is probably the most upsetting for me personally, and that is that in 2012 they did a survey at Knox College, and they brought in 60 girls between the ages of 6 and 9. And they gave them 2 different paper dolls. One was a girl who was in a bustier and leather, knee-high boots, and very sexy looking. And the other was a girl in jeans and a sweater, very modestly dressed, sort of trendy but normal looking. And they asked these girls a series of questions of how they perceived these 2 different girls and who they wanted to be. And 72% of them said that the sexy one was going to be the more popular one. And then at the end, they asked them, which one of these 2 girls do you want to be? And 68% of girls ages 6, 7, 8, and 9 said they wanted to be the sexy doll. At ages so young, they've already internalized that sexy is popular, sexy is who you want to be, sexy is how I get somewhere in the world. And I think that this is something that we aren't even aware of as we become older. We think that we're intelligent and empowered women, but we've been internalizing these same images for another 20 years, and this is how most of us end up thinking about ourselves.